Um, all right, so we're officially recording. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Select Board of Windham County panel Q&A. Such a long name, but I'm actually calling in from Puerto Rico. I'm visiting my family a little bit, so I hope I have the air on, but it might get a little too hot, so I might have like a fan to fan myself. It's okay to be jealous because I know y'all are in the cold right now. Like I said, your feelings are valid. Um, great. I would love to go around the panel. If each panel member, if you can um, say your name, your pronouns, what town you represent on the select board, and any public experience you have, both within the select board and outside of the select board. So we'll popcorn this one. We'll just have the next person just call on the next person. So Daniel, why don't you go first?
Sure, thanks, Fuchi. Daniel Quip, I use he, him pronouns. I'm in Brattleboro. I've been on the Brattleboro Select Board now for, I guess this is my 4th year. And that is pretty much the extent of my elected public service. I also used to do community organizing and other sort of stuff that intersects with the public realm. And I will pick Jessica.
Hi there, I'm Jessica Gelter. I use she, her pronouns. I'm on the Brattleboro Select Board and I'm in my second 1-year term. Before that, I was a member of the Town Planning Commission for almost 6 years. And I come with a background in arts and arts management. And I'm gonna tag, let's see, Tristan.
Thank you. I did. So Tristan actually couldn't make it today, so sent Pete Silverberg instead. So Pete, why don't you go?
Sorry.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I serve on the Halifax Select Board, well, the pronouns, he, him, that kind of thing. So I serve on the Select Board in Halifax with Tristan. I'm the vice chair, and that's really the limit of my public service. I mean, the reason I'm doing it is because I haven't done enough in terms of public service. So that's why I'm on the board in Halifax right now. And I guess I'll choose Donald.
So we'll just do panelists right now, and I think we might have just a little bit of extra time. So we'll have the attendants introduce themselves after. So Robert, why don't you go?
Hi, everybody. My name is Robert Swiger, and I reside in Townsend, where I'm a select board member. I've been on for, this is my 1st year. I respond to he, him pronouns. And my public service, I guess, history would be in emergency medicine and emergency management. So I dealt quite a bit with the municipal and county governments. But this is my first time dealing with a small government like Townsend.
Excellent. Thanks, Robert. Sandy, why don't you go?
Okay, there we go. I have to figure this all out. Okay, well, I was a lister in Athens for 23 years. I've been on the planning committee, the emergency management committee. I've been the assistant town clerk for about 5 years or more. And I was also a health officer in town, and I respond to female pronouns.
Excellent. Thanks, Sandy. So we have a few more minutes, so I'm gonna just call on some attendants to see if you can introduce yourselves. Casey, why don't you go ahead and start? And just names and pronouns is okay. Casey might be a little away from their computer. Eli, do you want to go?
Hey y'all, my name's Eli. I use they, them pronouns. Good to be here. I'm excited.
Thanks, Eli. Elaine, do you want to go?
Sure, and I can't figure out how to get my video to keep going. I'm not sure why it's not working, so my apologies for not being on screen. I'm Elaine Haney. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the former chair of the Town of Essex Select Board and a former member of the Board of Trustees for the Village of Essex Junction, which is now the City of Essex Junction. And I'm also the director of Emerge Vermont.
Excellent. Wow, what a powerhouse. Marta, do you want to go?
Sure. My name is Marta Gossage. I use she, her pronouns. I'm in Brattleboro, and I've been involved in our representative town meeting for a number of years, and am getting more involved in town politics. And I'm also kind of chair of a committee who's trying to bring a ballot petition for just cause eviction to Brattleboro voters.
Thank you. Brandy, do you want to go? I think Brandy might be away from her computer. Casey, do you want to go?
There, sorry about that. Sorry about that. That's what I get for trying to multitask and do dishes all at once. And I am Casey Haynes. I coordinate events for the Southern Vermont Young Professionals group in the area. So thank you all for doing this.
Thanks, Casey. And feel free, if you want to just continue washing your dishes, you are free to turn your camera off. No judgment from this end. Betty, do you want to go?
Hi, thanks for having this, Witchy, and I'm glad to join it. I'm Betty Fry, Guilford, Vermont, and I'm me. So I'm sad, and I've been watching this morning the fire and the loss of Ray at McNeil's. I'm an old timer in this community, and there's so much he did. He was a real community person. So, oh my God, I'm getting emotional, which is no big me. So I need to just acknowledge that with everybody. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Looking forward to this. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Betty, for bringing that in and acknowledging that. It's also it's always important to sort of be present with and aware of everything that's going on around us. So, I appreciate you bringing that into the space, especially someone who is so tied to the community. Brandy, do you wanna try again?
Yeah. Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. Okay, good. Sorry, it's asking me a bunch of stupid questions. Hi. So I pulled over because traffic is horrible, but then after introductions, I'll keep driving. So I'm Brandy Starr. I use she, her pronouns. I served on this Brattleboro Select Board for 4 or 5 years. Doesn't even matter that much. And I'm looking forward to this and looking forward to more conversations like this as I navigate coming back online a little bit. Thank you, Witchy, for doing this.
Thanks, Brandy. Drive safe. Feel free to turn off your phone and just listen instead, so you can pay attention to the road. Excellent. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start us off in ooh, sorry, we had another person in the waiting room. I did not see that. Tara is still connecting to audio. Hi, Tara. Thanks for joining. We actually were right at the end of our introductions. Do you want to just say your name and pronouns and anything else you want to add to the space?
Hi there, it's Tara O'Brien. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a longtime Brattleboro resident and just getting reemerged in some activities in town. And I'm grateful to be here to see and learn with you all. Thanks for hosting. Thank you.
Part of the
Thanks,
panel.
Oh, sorry, your camera's blocking your picture. So actually, sorry, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Got you up on the top row. Hi, Don Caponcelli, Sandy's husband, traditional male pronouns. Sandy's chief supporter. Myself, I've been, well, we've both been involved in a lot of town positions in the last 43 years. And for those who are newer to town service, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you folks. Not just in Athens, but in all the surrounding towns, there's been less participation. It seems as though having a harder time filling town and school board positions, and this is really important. I've always told my fellow townspeople, living in a small town is a lot of responsibility that goes with that. And if we don't have new people stepping up, the only thing I can think of, we'd be forced to going into a county seat form of government with expensive tax assessors, managers, paid fire department, that sort of thing. So, and it would take away a lot of our, civic participation is very important, and I always appreciate that. So anyway, thank you for doing this this thing today.
Thanks, Donald. Yeah, I moved my camera over so it's blocking my face and not yours. So now I can see you. And thanks for bringing that into the space. Yeah, I definitely love all the ways that I see folks stepping up. And appreciate you bringing that into the space. Excellent. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue on to the questions for the panel. And for clarity, just because we're all over the place, I did not pay for the webinar Zoom, so we're kind of just all in the space together. So those on the panel are Daniel Quitt from Brattleboro, Robert Swigger from Townsend, Jessica Gelter from Brattleboro, who am I missing here? Sandy Caponcelli from Athens, and Pete Silverberg from Halifax. And thank you so much for stepping up and doing this. So my first question for the panelists is, why did you do it in the first place? Why did you run for select board? And you can feel free to put your hand up on the chat so we get an order, or in the participant thing. Excellent. Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay, I'm going to say one thing must be a bit of insanity to keep doing this over many, many years. I just felt at the time we were going from a 3-person board to a 5-person board. And it was a difficult transition. Originally, I was not for it. I got stuck in the, that's the way it's always been done, But it came down to the situation that I just felt the necessity to run for the position. Hopefully I did the right thing. And it's only my first year doing this, although I've got extensive background in volunteering and holding various elected offices, but it's it's really a learning process. Even though I'm quite familiar with the select board, it's still a very big learning curve at this point.
Thanks, Sandy. Daniel?
Thanks. I thought about it for a couple of years. I actually took out a petition the previous year before I ran the first time, got the signatures, and didn't turn it in. It felt like it wasn't important that I was on the board. I wanted other people in the community to be in those positions of power instead of me. I was doing sort of some community organizing work at the time. I'd been a town meeting member for just a year before. I'd actually become a citizen only like the year before that, I guess. I was a UK citizen as well. And so the question was like, well, why me, right? Like, what's so special about me? I think that's important because I'd imagine that some of the folks that are on this call either themselves or friends of theirs are thinking like, well, why should I do it, right? And it takes a certain amount of ego, which is not necessarily a great thing, right? And it's also like, it's a service position, many times in this last week, I've been sort of reminded of the fact that this is about service, so it's giving to my community, as opposed to sort of like gaining some, I don't know, sense of like power or whatnot. Like there are powers that we have, but I don't feel especially powerful. Anyway, that's enough.
Thanks, Daniel. And Pete, I think you raised your hand. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I mean, we've owned property here in Halifax for a long time, but I apologize for my voice this morning. My grandkids visited, so I'm paying the price, So, anyways, I've never been even to a town meeting in Vermont, right? We moved up here full time in 2020 when I retired. But I feel very strongly that we're expected as citizens to participate in local government. It's part of the deal of being an American. And I didn't know what I was in for. I was encouraged by folks I know up here to get involved and to run. And I did really well in the election, and I'm very glad I did it. It can be frustrating, but for the most part, it's satisfying, and you get to actually make an impact at some level, which is very rewarding for me. And I'm really enjoying it. It's great.
Excellent. Thanks, Pete. Robert?
Hi. So like a few people have mentioned, there's a necessity for people to sign up and be involved and volunteer their time. And in Townsend, actually, I was a write-in because of the fact that 5 people hadn't even been on the ballot. So I've been visiting for 8 years or so and moved here just last year. But in that time, I was able to connect with the community, and I was written in, and it's been really interesting. I've also always been involved in volunteering civically, finding ways to get involved in my community, and this has really proven to kind of satisfy those needs.
Thanks. Jessica?
So, having served on the planning board for many years, and having a position as executive director of a nonprofit, I had that confidence, like, oh yeah, I could do this. But what really instigated me to step up was that I ran in the winter of 2021, which was after attending select board meetings for 6 months where there was some really challenging conversations going on. And one of the things that I felt really strongly about was that there needed to be a voice on the select board of someone who had lived experience like my own, coming from as someone who has been housing insecure, who has been on food assistance, who has struggled as a single parent, who has made do on a $20,000 a year salary. Like, I felt really strongly that I could bring a new or different perspective to the group that was already running. So I thought, between the confidence and the need for a voice like mine, and my ability to wield the power of my name, which had been in the newspapers a bit because of my arts participation and leadership, I thought, hey, sure, I'd love to keep serving, and this might be the right way to do it.
Thanks, Jessica. So a lot of what I'm hearing is sort of like a sense of duty to help others and be able to represent different perspectives in the day-to-day dealings of our town. That's sort of kind of what I heard a lot of. Not to summarize everyone's experience under that, but sort of a common theme that I feel like I could draw out of that. The next question I have for y'all is, now that you're on the select board, is it like everything that you imagined it would be? Or, are there like, well, I thought there'd be more of this, or like, there's too much of that? Anyone want to chime in on that one? Yeah, Sandy, go for it.
Okay. Well, after spending so many years attending select board meetings, I can't say it's everything I wanted it to be. I enjoyed being a lister. I'll be frank about it. I did it for 23 years and I felt that was a good place to come from because I know so many people in town and I'm very familiar with a lot of the situations in town. But as far as everything I wanted it to be, I don't think I had any expectations. I was brought up by first generation Polish American parents, and it was always, you should do something for your community, no matter how small. And I just felt this was the next step. Eventually I'm 68 now, so I can get a couple of terms in before I start losing it, I think. But, it's it is what it is. And I think we are just trying to make things better for the people of our towns in whatever way we can.
Thanks, Sandy. Pete I'm sorry, Jessica and then Pete.
One of the things I did when I was thinking about running was I called a bunch of people, both on the current select board and past select board members, to be like, what is this whole job? Like, do I really want this? And a few of the folks that I really respect as local activists told me it was a really frustrating position because the action that you're able to take on the select board isn't always immediate and huge and forceful and major change, right? But that it just moved too slow and it was really annoying. So I was prepared for the tempo at which we move. And that was really encouraging. And what I've been really delighted by is the actual deliberative process and the fact that this is the structure of our democracy. It's 5 people getting together and having to find some sort of either consensus or a majority opinion through conversation with each other in front of people. And it moves slowly, and that's the point of having 5 people, is that voices get heard, questions get asked, and it is a more thorough process. So yeah, for me, that's the tempo was an expectation that was set up for me really well, and I really have appreciated that's played out the way it has.
Thanks, Jess. Pete, and then Robert.
Yeah, so I guess I would echo, some of the things that Jessica just said, that, you kind of hear that it's going to be frustrating and, people get upset, and you kind of get yelled at and, there's all this sort of negative. And I don't really find that to be the case at all. It's, for the most part, people are reasonable and polite and logical, and and, so I think you kind of get some traction and you're able to actually make some progress. We switched from a 3-person board to a 5-person board at the same election where I joined the board. So most of my time has been spent with a 5-person board, and there's always some opinions that we should go back to a 3-person board, but I think that the 5-person board is great. It's pretty simple to me. If you have more opinions and more experience, it helps the town. There's absolutely nothing bad about it. So does it go slower? Do we have longer conversations? Yes, and I think that's all good. So I hope we get to stick with a 5-member board, but there's always some folks that would like to see it go back. Either way, when we have these discussions, and we're whether it's budget or whatever it is, it's been great, a great experience for me to experience, to have this conversation among really capable people who are very interested in doing the right thing all the time. And I find it very satisfying. And as long as all of our citizens sort of stay on their meds, we're fine. Once in a while people get off the rails, and you just have to try to be respectful and listen and just keep in mind you try to do what's best for the town over the long haul. And as long as you do that, I find it to be rewarding far more than it is frustrating.
Thank you, Pete. Robert and then Daniel.
So was it everything I expected it to be or wanted it to be? I would say yes and more. Always more. There's always something to be done. I'm getting to meet people I otherwise probably wouldn't have met. And it's kind of odd our population in Townsend is around 1,000 residents, maybe 1,300. But it's pretty rural, so meeting people isn't always easy unless you're going to potlucks or farmers markets all the time. So it's been a really fantastic way to meet the residents in the area. The tedium that people are talking about, I've always been kind of protocol forward. So I really appreciate that there's so much forethought, and the kind of the protocols involved are in place for a reason. However painstaking and slow it may be, I can see that we are making changes. Every week there's either it's a citizen coming in and asking about, hey, can you plow this part of this road? This year, we'll bring in, I think his name is Irv. He was the highways guy back from the 60s. And he said, we haven't plowed that road since the 60s because it's very dangerous. So there's some continuity there, which is really interesting just by meeting people and having those people around still who are still just so in love with the town. They want to see it succeed, whether they're serving or not. So that's been really rewarding.
Thanks, Robert. Daniel, then Dawn.
Thanks. I don't think I really had a good sense of what the work would be. My experience of the select board before I was on it was like going to a meeting and asking them questions or pestering them about something. But that's like only one piece of the select board. The actual meeting itself, yeah, sometimes the meetings are like crazy long because we make them long and because the public makes them long. They're as long as they have to be. They're never any shorter than that. And so, yeah, so my perception of what the work was, I knew I didn't know everything about the work. And each year we go through the same kind of stuff, right? There are seasonal things that happen. And every year I kind of learn a little bit more about it. I feel like in this position, I've learned a lot, and it's an opportunity to learn more each year. We're really blessed in Brattleboro to have a great town staff, a great town manager's office. And so I've learned a lot by asking them questions. And I've always felt like it's the select board members' duty to ask questions. And sometimes it's because community members are saying, hey, I want to know this thing. And so you're the conduit. And sometimes it's because you yourself have that question. And, so I've, always viewed it as like a learning experience. And, and tried to stay humble and like really respect the professionalism of the people involved in the town. I mean, Robert's talking about, their highways person, and, that knowledge and history is really, really important. I would also say, I guess one other thought occurred to me as I was listening. It's like, I ran for the select board. It was about me, but like you're just one person amongst a board of either 3 or 5, right? And the dynamic between those board members is usually often surprising as well. Like I think I've thought about it in like a fairly kind of complete way, and then another board member raises a different perspective, and that's like really important and useful.
Thanks, Daniel. Don? You had your hand up at one point. You're muted.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I discovered where the hand function is. Back when Sandy was talking, I was thinking, as assistant town clerk, she earned a reputation as being a really good researcher, and I found that when she got on the board, that people were handing a lot of that to her, but the fact that she does research things has led to meetings going a lot better. She's seeing other members who do their research have come in really well prepared, and that's made a difference. And I was against the going from 3 to 5 member board myself, but I'll have to admit that the 5-member board is functioning very well in Athens right now. So I think it was a good move. That's it.
Thanks, Don. Yeah, I heard a lot of fulfillment. Something that stood out to me when y'all said was the length of select board meetings. Definitely feel that as part of the audience, just like that exhaustion. I can't even imagine how y'all feel. But definitely, another takeaway that I saw was just that fulfillment that you talked about, not just in the meetings and being able to be part of the dynamic, but on the day-to-day of the ability for people to call on you to help. So thank you for that. I'm going to carry that one with me. For my own last question, and this is going to be a personal one. As a select board member, what has been your biggest accomplishment and/or your biggest regret? Sandy?
Okay, I seem to be the leader here. Actually, only being on the select board for less than a year, I can't say I have any big accomplishments or any regrets at this point. One thing I started out doing before I got onto the select board was dealing with FEMA. And as we all know, FEMA is a fun organization to deal with. And after some 18 months, we finally got a check in the mail. Yay. But I think that's it. I have really enjoyed doing the research on some of the projects that I'm working on. So to me, that's an accomplishment. Being able to go into a meeting and have the information there that people want to hear about, and then being able to take those questions and go and find the answers if I can. So I think that's my accomplishment. I enjoy doing that for people. So like I said, no regrets at this point.
Thanks, Sandy. Robert, then Daniel.
So it sounds like Sandra and I are very much in the same boat. This is my first year serving, so luckily no regrets to name as of yet. I will say, as far as accomplishments go, I can't really take credit for, I'm 1/5 of the group making decisions, but I am proud of the town and the fact that we did approve speed radar signs coming into Townsend. We're still in the process of working on Route 30 coming into West Townsend, but we're able to collect data from those and see how fast it is that people respond to them when they're coming into the town, and really keep good data on that, because it's also kind of, it's out of reach for our town to hire a lot of sheriffs due to the budget. So these radar signs have really been useful, especially for folks who live on Route 30, who get a brunt of the speeding I'm sure you guys have all witnessed. So as a group, I'd say I'm proud of that.
Thanks, Robert. Daniel, then Pete.
Thanks. You know, I feel like the select board's role in the town's response to the early part of the pandemic, something I'm proud of. I think the work that we went through around policing and the community safety review, which is still very much a live body of work and has been stalled for most of this year. I am proud of the fact that we made it through some really contentious meetings to arrive in a place where the 5 select board members and the town manager's office are basically on the same page, basically, not like, not in the details, but like, yeah. And so that work all unfolded during the first year of the pandemic on Zoom. And I recall feeling really, just some very intense feelings around that. It was like all happening like this, on Zoom, and then the meeting would end and you're kind of stuck with yourself in the house. And I don't know, it was a lot. And coming back into in-person meetings with the rest of the board, like, that's been a good experience. And we've also been through a lot this year and are continuing to go through a lot even just today. So I don't know. I do really appreciate being part of the body that I'm part of, and with the particular people involved, and Brandy's here as well. And, I love serving with Brandy too. And that you do form a bond, even if you disagree about policy stuff, but like, doing that work together is a big deal.
Thanks, Daniel. Pete, then Jess.
Yeah, so as far as, things that have been rewarding or accomplishments, I've invested a significant amount of time in working with the highway department. It's an enormous, most of the budget that we have control over goes into the roads. And I've been to foreman meetings, in various parts of the state, and I travel around with our supervisor and road commissioner, and to really try to understand what they're up against. And that's really been informative and I think valuable when it comes down to trying to set a budget and get people to on board with what the highway department needs. And what I've heard out there is that frequently the select board and the highway department are sort of at odds and struggle, right, to find common ground. And I think spending the time with those guys and really trying to understand what they're up against has been very helpful, and I think good for the town. And I'm gonna keep doing that. As far as regrets, I don't know if I call it a regret, but I did some things to try to get the COVID vaccinations more widely accepted in town and get more people vaccinated. And we struggle with that. It's very difficult, to sort of, with all the misinformation out there, to get people on board with getting vaccinated and keeping people healthy. And we've lost people in town, for those reasons. And I feel bad I wasn't able to do more with that.
Thanks, Pete. Jess?
Yeah, so this is a little story from when I first started on the select board. One of the first things we considered, I think about a month into me being on the board, was the town mask mandate. And it was right leading up to our first big gallery walk, and I thought, well, I'm going to talk to the folks that are frontline shop workers, folks that are, teenagers working in stores and that are going to have to be dealing with these implications of this policy. I was really proud to go around town and make that outreach happen and engage people in a policy decision and getting feedback on something that, folks that don't show up to meetings, they're not the business owners that you always see or the community activists that you always see. They're just the people that are going to have to deal with the consequences of whatever the decision is. I was really proud of that. And I got to the select board meeting and I disagreed with the rest of the board on the issue. And the mask mandate was lifted in Brattleboro. And then a newscaster got in touch with me for comment and came and filmed me in my front yard. And I was like super angry at the select board and super disappointed. And I expressed that very enthusiastically on camera. And the longer I've been on the select board, the more I understand that sometimes we don't agree. We don't come to a consensus on a decision. But as a body, that decision is our decision. So we have to take responsibility for the decisions that we make together as a body. And it's hard when you disagree, but it's important to respect that process. And so I feel a little regret for that newscast, but I appreciate the learning experience. I think the other learning experience that I want to make sure to mention as like, I don't know if it's an accomplishment, but coming to understand how the select board and town manager relationship works, and that the select board hires and manages the town manager has been a learning process, because when I came on the board, we had a town manager that like managed up really well and helped me understand my role really well. And it's been really great this past summer working with the interim town manager and understanding that I can coach him and drop wisdom with him, and he's really receptive, and it has an impact on what happens. It doesn't have to be a big public spectacle change-making thing. It can be a one-on-one conversation that changes a town dynamic in a powerful way. So I think that was a really important learning accomplishment. I'm not sure that I wanted to mention.
Thanks, Jess. That was really powerful. A lot of what I heard is sort of like the little ways that we go out of our way to make sure that we either bring in extra knowledge from the community, or the consistent phone calls we make to other government agencies to make sure things happen, right? Like those little things that we all do to just make sure that we move it just a little bit further, and that being sort of part of that bigger accomplishment. And I really liked what you said, Jess, about it's our decision. We are collectively going through a process that the community has giving us the trust for. And us, I mean select board members. I don't mean us. I'm not a select board member. Tara, I saw you clap. Was that you trying to put your hand up, or just in appreciation of all the messages?
No, that was in appreciation that one conversation can indeed change the course or the dynamics in the town. So that's why I really appreciate this. I appreciate the efforts of all the current and past select board people who have been open to continuing dialogue with those of us in community, because those conversations can make a difference. So thank you. Yeah. So it was a big cheer.
Thanks, Tara. So for the sake of time, I'm gonna ask that if anyone who from the audience has a follow-up question, I'm putting my email in the chat. You can either email email it to me, or ask the question in the chat, and then I'll make sure that those get to the 5 panelists. So then we can have a little bit extra time to be able to answer those. For now, though, given our time constraint, I am going to ask one last question for all the panelists as an exit question. And given the time, please answer in 60 minutes or less. It's a
or
quick
less?
question. It's a quick question. So the question is, what do you wish someone had told you before you ran for select board? Yeah, Robert, go ahead.
I think I had this notion that people were going to be really unfriendly and mean and always approach the board with problems. That's actually not the case. Everybody's been really welcoming, and even the people that I don't agree with on the board or in the town, they're willing to explain and sit me down and really be helpful through the process. And I think I was a little intimidated when I first got into it, but it's very approachable. The people you're working with are your neighbors. So I would suggest if anybody's interested in it, just give it a try.
Thanks, Robert. Sandy?
Basically, it's the same thing. I did go into it with my eyes wide open, having been involved in town politics for so long. But it is always good to hear what other select boards are going through at the same time, because we've had a really rough time this past year with our select board making adaptations to change and other things. So, it's been a good first year, and I am hoping to get reelected because I would like to continue serving the town.
Thank you, Sandy. Daniel, then Pete.
Yeah, I wish somebody had given me a sort of guide to how to make change from the position of being one select board member. What are the avenues that are available to us, process wise. This year I'm the vice chair, so I see a little more behind the scenes of like how things happen. And yeah, heads up about that would have meant that I was more effective in my first year.
Thanks, Daniel. Pete, then Jess.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I had known how much you get out of doing this kind of thing, I might have done it, sooner in other places, because you do have an impact. You actually make things happen. And there's not a lot of stress at our meetings. I mean, once in a while it gets a little warm, but for the most part, as long as you're polite and respectful and logical, you can be persuasive. And if you're persuasive, you get things done. And echoing a little bit what Jessica said, that at the end of the day, when we vote on something, it's whether you vote for it or not, right? It's our decision, and that's what we go with, and that's the American way, right? Whether you vote for somebody or not, he's your representative, he's your president, and that's how it is, and we try to support that kind of thing.
Thanks, Pete. Jess?
There's two things. I'll go really quick. Thing one is that, I see the role as requiring 3 things, and different people bring different balances of it. It's that ability to communicate and be a voice for your community, the ability to do the homework and the research that, and the pages and pages of reading to prepare for a meeting. And then the ability to bring your own individual perspective and voice with good questions, analysis, and critical thinking. I think those 3 are really important skills. And I think a lot of people have those skills. the other thing is that it does take some privilege to serve on the board. I need the support of my partner to take care of my child. I need the support and to be out of the house so much. I need the support of my workplace to be able to dedicate lots of hours to occasional daytime meetings and other responsibilities. And so it does take some extra community support to serve the community.
Thank you, Jess. I would love, any panelist who's into being contacted for, getting asked questions, maybe if someone needs a mentor, and you're willing to be that person for them. That is you, please feel free to put your email in the chat, panelists. And in the meantime, Betty, I saw you clap. Was that your hand going up, or are you appreciating a message that was there?
Well, I wanted to comment because this has been enlightening. I've enjoyed it immensely. I want to say that being from Guilford, population a little over 2,000, we went from 3 to 5 several years ago, and it was important to do that. So I applaud all those towns that are doing the 3 to 5 and in their first part of that, wondering if that's a good idea. It is a good idea for the small towns to have 5 people working on these issues. Did you, I got on this a little late because of what I was paying attention to before. So did you tape this?
As in
Is this
recorded?
going to be shareable? Yeah,
Yes.
recorded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So you're going to get it out there. I'd love to share this with other people, including my own select board in Guilford.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely would love for this to be a resource for others, especially those who wanted to make it and weren't able to make it, which is actually where the request for recording this came.
And I just want to, I know Jess and I know Daniel. Hi, but to meet these 3 other fabulous people, I love their attitude, and just keep it up. The towns need you. I'm just totally impressed with their spirit. It's fabulous. And I'm just going to end with, I recruit people all the time for different things. Yeah. And that's what people have to do in communities. They have to go and say to somebody, hey, were you ever thinking about this? And they go, maybe they were, but they need the encouragement of others to say, hey, you could do it, and look into it. And that's what we have to do, because these roles always come up, and there are people that do have to step down and let others get in there too, because that's where growth comes. And then I guess I am going to just leave it with this would be really great if the state recognized this as an avenue of bringing all kinds of select boards together like this with common themes and common questions. And you did a really great job, which you know what you're doing there. So I thank you. Thank you. I'm very educational. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. And thank you for all the panelists. It is time. I don't want to steal people's time, especially on a Saturday. I'm gonna leave it with what Betty said, because everything that you said was very beautiful, and thank you for doing that recruitment work.
Witchy,
Yes, please go ahead, Elaine.
sorry, this is Elaine. None of my controls are working on my phone. I'm so sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
that's okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for this really terrific panel, and to all of the panelists who spoke. You had wonderful things to say about being select board members, and thank you for that. And I just wanted to put a bug in folks' ears. I'm running a training for women and non-binary folks interested in running for select board and school board. There's going to be one on December 10th in Greensboro, and there's going to be one in Brandon on January 14th. And I can't put a link in the chat because I can't get to the chat, but Witchy, I sent it to you. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind putting it in the chat so folks know about it and could perhaps share it.
Yeah, so I will. Oh, thanks,
Oh, I see
Jess.
Jess has done it already. You're
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah, trying to do a million things is a little bit hard for me right now. Thank you, Jess. And I will send out any questions and notes and links and emails that came up in the chat as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful Saturday.